Thank you so much, Bwana Waihiga. I think, wow, I don't know whether the rest of you are feeling the same way I'm feeling, and I think the way you started it, the photos of those men, when you look at them, they already tell you a story. There's a person you are like, I don't want to think about this one, but there's another one, wow, I would love this. I think that was the best way of me understanding the brand. Yes.
And let me apologize that I did not put any ladies there. And the next one, I'll make sure that there is gender balance.
Mr. Waihiga, I think that was the message was sent home actually to me. The fact, the moment I saw those men, I could tell, well, this one I would never even want to even greet him. But there's another one. I long for that moment. Yeah. So thank you very much. And I think as we take questions, please put your questions there. We will answer as many as we can be able to handle. Yes, you mentioned about social media. This is Naya Shalom. You mentioned about social media and how it plays a critical role in telling others who you are. We are living in an environment where Christianity is unpopular opinion, that is in quotes, kind of life. How does one get the wisdom to stand for truth in the social media space, but at the same time, wise in social standing? I hope my question is clear.
Yes. I think there are various ways I would answer that question. One is that now speaking from a faith perspective, and I like the word that you've used, wisdom, okay? So wisdom will at one point tell you to speak, and at another point, wisdom will tell you to keep quiet, okay? So in terms of how I engage on social media, in terms of my faith, I will always prayerfully try and gauge, is this the time to speak or is this the time to keep quiet? Because I've also found that abrasive defense of your view could work against you in even getting your point across, okay? So for example, on social media, if I find someone speaking something that I find is an issue, I am more inclined to DM them or sidebar them and tell them that, try and have a one-on-one conversation with them. I've found one-on-one conversations a lot more helpful than now fighting with someone on social media. But let me tell you this about being unpopular. If you want to be impactful in this world, you must learn to be comfortable with being unpopular. Whether it is in defense of your brand identity, in defense of your faith, or in defense of whatever you believe to be true. Now, it is a hard lesson that I'm learning because we all desire to be popular, and popular men and women are praised by society, and everybody wants to be popular like Obama or popular like, I don't know, who else you admire out there, Mandela, etc. But let me say this, even the most popular men have learned, and women have learned, how to be comfortable with being unpopular, because there are times when you'll be forced to take a stand that is not the public stand. And so whether it is an issue of brand integrity, there is a time when your office will be going this way on an issue and it's not the right thing to do, and you will stand up and argue in a different way. And I have stood up in meetings to defend a point where people have told me you are either naive or foolish. People have told me that you'll never get rich with the kind of views you hold, and you are tempted to cow down and keep your opinion, but sometimes you need to speak up. And so how does one get the wisdom to stand for truth? I would say that I watch a lot of online sermons about how people are sharing the gospel out there. And so it's important for you to be conversant with the facts and the struggles that are out there. I also have asked God for wisdom many times to know how to handle a particular situation, especially as we are living in a world that is increasingly more polarized against Christianity, because the views of Christianity in many ways will not accommodate the views that the world is now comfortable accommodating. And so at some point you have to decide, I might lose some things, I might lose a trip, I might lose a business, but it's been the struggle of Christianity since time immemorable, that if you choose to be honest, if you choose to do things by the book, you will miss opportunities, you will miss ways. And so just resolve that you might, I have made peace with the fact that I might never be a billionaire. I might never drive a big Range Rover or have a helicopter. If God sees it fit to reward me with those in an ethical manner, then so be it. But I will not feel that I have wasted my life if I never have one of those things. Do I want a nice car? Yes. Do I want a nice house? Yes. But at what cost? Is the question that you're asking. So for Naya, Shalom, you first need to make sure you know God for yourself fully and properly. I think that's the first thing. But secondly, if you really want to live for Christ in the world that we are living in, be ready to be ostracized, made fun of. You will be unpopular. And the sooner you learn how to deal with it, I think the easier your life will be. And Jesus himself said the same thing in the life that he lived and the life his disciples lived after he left. They had to fend for themselves without him. And when they speak of to live is Christ, to die is gain, for me, that is an individual who has surrendered to the fact that in all is Christ, whether I'm happy, whether in plenty or in little. So I hope I've helped you. And yes, your question is clear, Naya. Thank you. At the moment, no. Maybe somebody else might know of one. I do not know.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Waihiga. Ruth Chalo is agreeing with you that next time you put gender balance. Then there is on social media, what should be the red lights for the youth? That is exactly what to avoid defining socially. That is Samuel Bukosia.
Okay. I think first of all, I have a perfect example. So social media is interesting because depending on how long you've been on social media, if you've been on social media for 10, 15 years, it is possible that your views over issues may have changed from time to time, okay? So for example, you may have been a big supporter of a political party in 2000, but in 2010, you're supporting a different one. What I always ask myself when I'm going to post on social media is this: in 10 years from now, one, might I be ashamed of this post? So there are many ways to look at it. So that you're always very sensitive about what you're posting on social media, knowing that you will be judged based on that, okay? So be careful, whatever your views are on issues, be careful that you don't take out your anger on social media because I know people who go out and spew political comments on social media in the run up to an election, and then 3 years later, an employer will go back and track those messages and say, is this the kind of employee we recently interviewed for a post? How can they, so sometimes I see people writing things and I'm like, my goodness. I mean, we all have our views on politics or whatever it is, but surely there should be that basic self-control where you tell yourself, these are not things I should go and post online, even if you believe them. I just feel that one responsibility that these views, use social media responsibly, because we now see a situation where people will go back and look at your tweets and judge you based on that, and you might have made those comments in the heat of the moment, but you later on regret them. Secondly, I would say that in addition to that, follow people that build you on social media. Social media can be a great asset, a great resource, even from the faith perspective. For the person who was asking about sharing their faith, I follow people who build me. I follow people who blog about Christianity, family life, how to build your family. I follow people who build my life in journalism, leadership, ethics. So follow the right people intentionally, so that you gain as you do that. And third, I would say don't use social media as therapy. This is for young people. So I've seen young people who go through a relationship challenge and then they go and spewing everything that is happening in that relationship, where things went wrong on social media as well. For young people, I would say be careful the things you post, no matter the issues you may have. Use social media to build, and even for me, I would say social media is a great platform which I use to also share my faith, especially my Instagram, because I find Twitter is a little bit more difficult with the way it's set up. But I find Instagram allows me, and Facebook allows me a lot more to be able to share and discuss my faith with people, and a bit of Twitter as well, but not so much, because Twitter nowadays has become more of like a news platform more than anything else. So I hope, Samuel, I've helped you a little bit. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Naya is back with a second question. How does one find the balance of not being bowed by living on popular opinion, whereas still alert on what people say, especially as regards to what you mentioned. What do people say about you when you are not there?
Good. So let me give you an example, right? There are 92 participants now in this, listening to this discussion, right?
We were 100 at some point, yeah.
Okay. Of those 100, there are 50 that think I did a great job. There are 50 that were bored, think they could have done something better, that sort of thing. What am I trying to say? You can never please everyone. And once you resolve and come to peace with that, it doesn't mean that you should not pursue excellence, okay? It doesn't mean that next time I shouldn't do an even better presentation. I should. But I also should sit here today knowing that I can never please anyone. And that is how I feel about my work, you know. I put my heart into my work. You know, as a journalist, I believe in pushing the envelope. I'm challenging myself in 2020, even with COVID, how am I going to ensure that when 2020 is over, I can look back and say, I did better with my work in 2020 than I did in 2019. You know, I'm a personal believer in challenging your fears. You know, I don't just believe in setting goals. I believe in setting fear goals. What are fear goals? What are things that you have feared? Okay. So when we say goals, we say nice things. What's your goal? I want to buy a house. I want to buy a car. Good. But I also set fear goals. What are things that I have feared in my life? Are there places where I think there are limitations in my career? Okay. I am aware of them. If in 2020 I can conquer one or two of them, for me, it is an achievement. You know, so at the beginning of 2020, I asked myself, what am I most afraid of in my career? Do I feel that I can never do this? Let me set that as a goal. And it's kind of like a fear goal because it's tied to a fear that I can't quite mention in myself. And I, you know, push myself to conquer, to face that fear. And the funny thing about fear is sometimes you don't even conquer it, you manage it. People ask me, how do you deal with stage fright? Stage fright, you never conquer it, you manage it. You know, you're always afraid. Even a minute before this Zoom call, I felt a little bit of anxiety. What will the people say about me? But you manage it. So just to bring it back to the question, finding the balance is one, it's long-term, Naya. It won't happen today, but it is in being first comfortable in your own skin. So I have resolved as a journalist that I may not please 100% of all Kenyans. And if I try to, I will be erratic because I'll be, today the public is going this way, tomorrow the public is going that way. For me, what am I chasing? I'm chasing truth. I'm chasing right of reply. I'm chasing good journalism. I'm chasing the full story. Those are the basics on which journalism is built, for example. And I could say the same with Christianity. Even within the Christian fraternity, you will not please everyone with what you feel or what you believe. I would say for Christianity, please God. End of story. Okay? Please him. And once you're comfortable that you're pleasing him, what others say is neither here nor there. Yes, it is good to listen to advice. I'm not saying ignore advice, but please God. For journalism, I would say, you know, because that's, you know, how I look at it in terms of, you know, being popular as a journalist, but are you doing the right thing? I look at my work and I say, 20 years from now, I want to look back over the work I did as a journalist and look back with pride, okay? And so I am working now to ensure that when that time comes and I review, I am not ashamed of the work I did. And so it pushes away from me the thoughts of, am I popular? Am I the number one journalist? No, put those things away. Am I proud of the work that I put in? That's kind of how I gauge. So you're going to have to sit down and have a conversation with yourself and first resolve that as much as I love to be popular, everybody wants to be popular, a time will come when I'll have to make unpopular decisions. And the earlier you learn how to make unpopular decisions, let me tell you, the better you will be. I know there are many of you here who aspire to be maybe president one day, or prime minister, or cabinet secretary, or CEO. They are defined by choices they made in times of division. The best prime ministers, the best presidents are defined by the unpopular decisions they made at a time when pressure was pulling them in one direction or the other. But they looked at the evidence and they said, this is the way to go. So the earlier I, as an individual, learn how to deal with unpopularity, the better off I will be.
Just join the WhatsApp group, you're assured of that. Okay, then Maureen is sharing a very interesting story here. When I was an intern, in one government offices, one staff told me that I have to sleep with the bosses to get a job. I told him off, and I was walking home. I never got that job, but I got a similar job in an authentic way. But I thank God that I found a vacancy from a newspaper in their library. To my young sisters, respect yourselves. You may be delayed, but not denied. I got 3 jobs at a go. Wow.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Maureen, kudos. So I'm trying to imagine women who've gone down this path, and the deal is never that sweet from the time it's promised, because once you give over to the intentions of this boss, for some of them now your value has decreased, and so they could mistreat you. You could get fired eventually, but also your name. They say that our reputation at the end of the day is everything in this world. Now, it doesn't mean that we're perfect, and of course, I'm not sitting here talking to 93 individuals expecting you to each and be perfect. But the shortcut of trying to rise, it never ends well. It rarely leads to long-term success. And remember, I'm speaking to individuals who I hope want to enjoy long-term success. That success that outlives you. You don't get it that way. I always tell people when I go to speak to them that to define who you are, you have to start it from the very beginning, okay? So when you get to an office like that, can they know you are stand early so that even when women are being approached to sleep with a boss or men are being approached to bribe, they almost want to ignore you because they know this one will not go down that way, okay? I have had it said to me, this whole culture of journalists taking money, I remember once someone telling me, where we are going, they are going to give money. You are not going to stand in our way. And I wondered, you mean people talk about our decisions out there? People talk about who you are even when you don't know it. What do you want them to say about you? And so let me say this, Maureen, kudos. I want to congratulate you for this. Well done. It reminds me of, this is not a similar example, but even integrity with money. I remember one of my first jobs, where was I working at? I can't remember the institution. I worked there for a very short, it wasn't a very short time, maybe a couple of months, and I was earning a salary. And at the end of it all, after I'd resigned, they made a mistake and they paid me for 2 months after that, okay? And I was jobless. So because I was jobless, I stopped going to check my account because there was no point of checking. I knew there was no money. And one day I decided, let me go. And that time the account was not linked to the phone. So to check your account, you have to go to the bank. So I go to, I've never forgotten, a KCB branch. And I check the account and I find these people have paid me for almost 3 months. And I call them and I tell them, hey, you guys, you've paid me, what's going on? Oh, they say, we've made a mistake, but they're not pushing me to, the company is not pushing me to refund the money. I don't know that the accountant was, I don't know, there was no follow-up. But I remember going to the bank, talking to the branch manager and asking and signing instructions to return it to the source. Because now the employer was not showing me how I should do it, I just went and did a transfer back. I did not do it from a point of I had the money, but it was, I think there was something in me telling me there are obstacles and pitfalls in the journey ahead. If you don't make very strong decisions now, before before you have many obligations, you will make very bad decisions later on. And so that bank manager said, you're one of the few, bank errors happen all the time, where people go to their banks and find employer wako amekulipa 10 times your normal salary. And I am told employees normally withdraw that money very quickly, so that by the time your employer is trying to trace that money, you have already bought 2 matatus and you have a business on Thika Road or on Mombasa Road. But for me, I say, what does that say about you and who you are? Can you be trusted?
Kajapu, I think that could be my colleague somewhere. Hello, Waihiga. I love the topic, brand integrity. We live in a society where integrity can put your life in danger. Some even get killed for doing the right thing. What should one do? Suppose you are in such a situation. That's very real.
Okay. Well, you know what? I don't know how to answer that question, because ultimately you need to decide what you're ready to do. So, for example, I am an investigative journalist. I have done stories that have threatened people's livelihoods and jobs of high-ranking people. Two of them in particular, one on a university that we did last year, another one on what happened with the Kenyan team and the Ministry of Sports in 2016. Now those, and think of people like your John Alanamus, think of your Denison Sarigos. When they do stories, those stories are threatening to their lives. But I think a time will have to come when you'll have to decide, almost from that perspective of, if I perish, I perish. If I perish, I perish. Until you get to that, you will always be intimidated. Now, I'm not telling you today to go and confront some big person, and there also must be tact in how you do it. But I think Kenya, for Kenya to get to where it needs to get to, we, for example, need more whistleblowers in government and private institutions. More people to stand up and say, the wrong things are happening in this place, or the wrong things are happening in that place, and I'm ready to expose them if you're ready to. And in my journalism career, I have met some brave Kenyans. They're not rich, they don't have godfathers, but they have said enough is enough. So and we have also been told that for our faith, a day may come when for your faith, your life could be at stake. Okay? So it's not just a question of at the office, but what if a time comes when you are in a place where you are told, for your faith, if you want to live, renounce your faith? How many of you would be willing to say, I will never renounce my faith. This life is not worth it. I remain a Christian. I remain a follower of Christ. That's a question you have to ask yourself. How valuable is your life? Some of you would say your life is everything. Well, this is a faith that requires that you are everything. You must be ready to give it up for that faith as well. So that's how I look at it. I gauge scenarios. There are stories I've done that have been detrimental to my life. I have received a few threats. I have reported them to the police. I have at some time had to abandon how I travel and start using clandestine means. It is the nature of the job that I chose as a journalist. And, I remember last year, 3 years ago, 3 of my colleagues slept in an office hiding because they were going to be arrested over one issue or the other. It's the nature of the job. So you need to decide what you're ready to stand up for. Your brand integrity might put your life in danger. Are you ready to stand up for that, or will you just give up? And I salute civil servants in this country who put their lives on the line for truth. I salute them. Those to me are the people who we deserve to put statues of them in public places, that we remember what they did.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate all of you. God bless you so much. Have a very, very blessed night. Keep safe. Let Corona not see you. And let's set fear goals. I think that's my biggest take home for the night. Set fear goals, and of course stand with integrity. Mr. Waihiga, unless I would love to give you parting shots, and then we call it off.
Yeah, no, just to thank everyone for listening to me and for their time. I don't take it for granted. You could have been doing a whole lot of other things today. So thank you for your time, and thank you for listening. And I've learned a lot also just interacting with you guys. When I speak, I'm challenged to live that life. And may God bless this platform. And yes, I can now release you and release myself to go spend time with our families and to relax after maybe what was a long day for some of you, like for me.